Brian got a raise every single year for the last 8 years. He earns $112,000 today. He has $900 in his savings account. He cannot explain where the money goes. His coworker Lisa earns $58,000. She has $87,000 invested, and she is not working any harder than Brian. The trap Brian is in has a name, and understanding it is the difference between spending your entire career feeling broke and actually building something. Let's run the real math. Let's set this up properly. Brian is not irresponsible. Brian is not lazy. Brian is not making obviously bad decisions. Brian is doing exactly what the salary trap is designed to make him do. And the salary trap is so well disguised that most of its victims never realize they're in it. Here is what the salary trap actually is. The salary trap is the phenomenon where income rises and lifestyle rises to match it automatically, leaving the gap between income and spending permanently thin regardless of how much someone earns. It has another name you may have heard: lifestyle inflation. But calling it lifestyle inflation makes it sound like a choice. The salary trap is not a choice. It is a mechanism, and it operates largely below the level of conscious decision-making. Here is how it works in practice. Brian earns $55,000 at his first job. His apartment costs $1,100 per month. His car is a 2016 Civic he bought used. He spends about $400 a month on food. His total monthly spending is roughly $2,800. His take-home is about $3,600. His gap, the money available to invest or save, is roughly $800 per month. Brian feels tight, but the gap exists. Brian gets a raise to $65,000. His take-home goes to approximately $4,200. He moves to a nicer apartment for $1,450 per month. He trades the Civic for a newer car with a $380 monthly payment. His food spending creeps to $550 because he can afford nicer restaurants now. His total monthly spending is roughly $3,600. His gap is now $600 per month. He earns $10,000 more per year and has $200 less per month available to invest. He does not notice this. Nobody told him to upgrade the apartment or the car. It just felt natural. It felt like progress. Brian gets another raise to $78,000. His take-home goes to approximately $4,900. He moves to an even nicer apartment for $1,850 per month. His car lease upgrades to $520 per month. He starts getting his hair cut at a better place. He buys better clothes because his income warrants it. He takes a real vacation for the first time. His total monthly spending is now roughly $4,600. His gap is $300 per month. He earns $23,000 more per year than when he started and has less money available to invest than at year one. He still feels tight. He assumes he just needs one more raise. This is the core mechanics of the salary trap. Every raise triggers a lifestyle upgrade. Every lifestyle upgrade consumes the raise. The gap never widens. The gap sometimes shrinks, and the person inside the trap always feels like they are one raise away from finally getting ahead. They never get ahead because getting ahead requires a wider gap, and the trap is specifically designed to prevent the gap from widening. Now, let's look at Lisa. Lisa earns $58,000. She made one decision when she took her first job that Brian never made. She decided what her lifestyle would cost before the money arrived. She set her apartment budget at $1,100, regardless of what she could technically afford. She kept her 2017 Corolla paid off. She spent $380 per month on food. Her total monthly spending is approximately $2,600. Her take-home is approximately $3,700. Her gap is $1,100 per month. She automatically invests $1,100 every single month. Lisa gets a raise to $65,000. Her take-home goes to $4,100. She does not move apartments. She does not upgrade her car. She raises her monthly investment from $1,100 to $1,600. The raise went entirely into her gap. Lisa gets another raise to $72,000. Her take-home goes to $4,500. She finally upgrades her apartment. She allows herself $200 more per month on food. She raises her investment from $1,600 to $1,800. She absorbed half the raise into lifestyle and invested the other half. The gap kept growing. Here is the gap comparison at year 8. Brian earns $112,000 and has $900 in savings. Lisa earns $58,000 and has $87,000 invested. Brian's total lifetime earnings over 8 years are approximately $680,000. Lisa's total lifetime earnings over 8 years are approximately $440,000. Brian earned $240,000 more than Lisa. Lisa has $86,100 more in actual wealth. The difference is not income. The difference is the gap. Let's run the 30-year projection because the 8-year snapshot is uncomfortable, but the 30-year number is genuinely life-altering. Brian spends 30 years in the salary trap. He earns well. He lives well. He retires with approximately $180,000 to $220,000 saved. Not because he earned too little, because his gap was always too thin. Lisa invests consistently for 30 years. Her contributions grow as her income grows. Her portfolio at retirement is approximately $1,400,000 to $1,600,000. Same career path, same industry. Lower income, dramatically different outcome. The salary trap has 3 specific mechanisms that make it so difficult to escape. Mechanism 1 is social calibration. Your reference group is usually people who earn what you earn. When your income rises, your reference group rises with it. The apartments your colleagues live in, the restaurants they eat at, the cars they drive, these become your baseline. Spending below your social reference group feels like deprivation, even when it is not. Brian does not choose to spend more because he is greedy. He chooses to spend more because spending less than his peers feels like falling behind. The trap is enforced socially. Mechanism 2 is the comfort ratchet. Comfort upgrades are extremely easy to make and extremely difficult to reverse. The nicer apartment feels better than the cheaper one. The newer car is more comfortable than the older one. Going back feels like punishment. Going forward feels like progress. The ratchet only moves in one direction. Every upgrade raises the floor of what feels normal, and the new normal always costs more. Mechanism 3 is the identity upgrade. At each income level, people develop an identity around what they earn. When Brian earns $112,000, spending like someone who earns $65,000 feels wrong. It feels inauthentic. It feels like denying what he has achieved. The lifestyle is not just spending, it is self-expression. And attacking self-expression feels personal. This is why telling someone to cut their spending is so often met with resistance that seems disproportionate to the financial stakes. It is not about the money. It is about who they believe they are. Here is the escape mechanism. Escaping the salary trap does not require sacrifice forever. It requires one decision made once that compounds for decades. The decision is this. Before the next raise arrives, decide what percentage of it you will invest and automate that decision before the money hits your account. Not after, before. Because after the money arrives, the social calibration, comfort, ratchet, and identity upgrade mechanisms immediately begin consuming it. The only way to beat automatic mechanisms is with automatic counter mechanisms. If Brian had invested 50% of every raise he received over the last 8 years, his portfolio today would be approximately $95,000 to $110,000. Not by earning more, not by spending nothing. By capturing half of each raise before the trap could capture it entirely. The 50% rule is the simplest version of this. Every raise you receive, invest half and spend half. The lifestyle still improves. The gap still grows. The trap loses half its power with every raise. There is a version of this that is even more powerful. Invest your raises entirely until your savings rate reaches 20%. Then invest 50% of each subsequent raise. This sounds aggressive. At Brian's income level, it produces a portfolio of approximately $290,000 to $330,000 over the same 8 years, without earning a single dollar more than he earned, without living in deprivation, without making any decision that feels like punishment, just capturing the raises before the trap does. Brian is not a cautionary tale about bad values. Brian is a cautionary tale about a trap that is designed to be invisible. A trap that uses comfort, social belonging, and identity to prevent you from ever building the gap that creates real freedom. A trap that guarantees you will always feel like you need one more raise no matter how many you get. Lisa is not a story about deprivation. Lisa is a story about one decision made once. A decision that turned a $58,000 salary into $1.4 million in retirement wealth without a single dramatic sacrifice. Without a single moment that felt like punishment. Just a gap that was protected and a raise that was captured before the trap could claim it. So the next time you get a raise, before you spend a single dollar of it, ask yourself one question. What percentage of this raise am I going to invest before my lifestyle has a chance to absorb it? Because the answer to that question determines whether this raise makes you wealthier or just more expensive to maintain.